Good evening, everyone. I met Steffi at a dinner party in New York. Richard Edelman was hosting, and I was telling her that I was giving a talk on cybersecurity, and she said, you must come. You must come to DLD. There's lots of food, lots of drink, which I haven't had the drinks yet, and you will enjoy yourself. And so far, it's living up to that. So thank you very, very much for the invite. I'm very excited about being here. But more importantly, welcome to our discussion around cybersecurity. We believe, the three of us, that it is the biggest challenge that we have in our next decade. And think about just the conversations that you had during the day today. Last panel around digital transformation, you talked about quantum and how quantum's coming. Our challenge around cybersecurity is only going to get more and more severe about our everyday life. And you start to see a little bit of data getting stolen. The data's getting stolen, but no one's sure exactly what's happening with it or where it's going. And we're going to talk a little bit about that on the panel. But the average cost of a cyber attack is over $4 million to a company. That's just the average. And that doesn't even include any of the reputational risks or any other challenges that come along. So with quantum computing coming on board, that only makes the problem a little bit more challenging. So we brought together our field of experts in cybersecurity and quantum to have a discussion about that. Dorit Dor and Gabi, would you guys introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. So I'm Dorit Dor. I manage the R&D and products for Check Point for the past 27 years. It's a very big number. And I'm a cyber geek. So I'm very happy and I'm appreciating the opportunity to be here and speak with you.
Yes, hello, my name is Gabi Dreo. I'm a professor for communication system and network security at the Universität der Bun-deswehr München. And my research field is especially AI-based cyber defense and, of course, cybersecurity.
So Dora, let's start with you first. Why should we be worried about cybersecurity in general? And what have you seen in the last few years that gives you more cause for concern?
Yeah. So I think we have to understand the nature of cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is this thing that takes everything we do and try to skew this into not so positive cause. So if you change the way you do IT, if you move your money to like a digital world, if you move your data to the cloud, there would always be somebody who would watch this transformation and would ask themselves, how would I abuse this for my benefit? For the benefit of my state, for the benefit of me as a thief, for the benefit of my political cause, or many, many other reasons. So what happened in the last years is that much more of our assets are digital. So there is much, much more benefit to try to tackle them in the digital world, as well as it doesn't require you to expose yourself physically. And so the value that exists there, alongside with the vulnerabilities that are there, makes it much more easy and appealing to just steal your stuff online or abuse your communication online or whatever your goal is. And we actually see this. We see amount of attacks over organizations increased between 36% to 50% between 2019 to 2020 to 2021 and to 2022. In each year, nearly 50% of increase of attacks on one organization.
And Gabi, how is this? Because I think to the common consumer, they necessarily haven't seen cyber impact their lives. In the last year, maybe a little bit different, right? Whether it's Twitter or even the Colonial Pipeline hack, people are much more aware about that. Talk a little bit about what you've seen happen in the last few years, and why is the consumer concerned about it?
We talked already today, and we will talk tomorrow about digital transformation, about digitalization, about quantum AI, and so on. A precondition of this all is trustworthy systems, secure systems. Otherwise, we will not trust IT. So it's so much important talking about cybersecurity as a fundament fundament of our digital society. And this awareness about stolen data or being privacy, keylogging, malware, ransomware, what is there? I think that's more and more coming up, but it's even more important to say that cybersecurity is in fact the fundament of our digital society.
Yeah, I mean, it's stopping us, right? It
Yes.
stops us from doing things.
Yeah, I want to add to this. So first, in Australia, there was an attack by state nation that actually got 3/4 of the population personal details out of Optus open API. That is information about each one of us. This is not somebody else. The other thing that happened was country extortion. So there was attack on Costa Rica, on Peru, on Montenegro, Albania. These are all things that happened this year. This is not about the infrastructure of the country itself. It's something we all feel. If we can't get passport, if we can't get government services, this is impacting all of us. This is not just somebody else.
And talk a little bit about, because I think the cybersecurity industry has sort of come a different way. Talk a little bit, Dorit, about sort of the prevention versus the mitigation. Because I think that the industry is now really trying to move up to the prevention side. And what does that mean as an industry and what has to happen?
Well, I think that the cyber professionals have a dilemma of stopping an attack, but they are too scared to impact their businesses. So sometimes they opt for just doing detection, I'll remediate later, but then they get a very large pile of things that never gets handled on any timely manner, where the attackers complete their attacks very, very fast, and nobody responded. So I think it's essential that if we want to be clean and better safe, we have to keep the hygiene of everything around us for prevention, stopping the attacks that we can upfront, keeping something that is so much cleaner that we could actually see if something is left. Because the volume of attack and the speed of attacking, and now we move to use AI in speeding this even faster, if you just hesitate for one day, you are taken over.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Even IBM hosts the US Open, the tennis match in the United States. We have 40 million attacks just in one day trying to get into the event. So you just think about it, it's all over. Gabi, what's your research telling you about with quantum coming in place? What do we need to worry about?
Yes, several aspects, as we heard already in the previous session, but allow me to say also another issue. We are talking now about cybersecurity, and we all know 100% security, that's not illusion, it's an illusion. So it's not possible. What we need to do is go from cybersecurity to cyber resilience. We need to build resilient systems that if also some parts are attacked, and we see it here, then the system is still running and working. And being cyber resilient means also to exchange security relevant information between several multi-stakeholder ecosystem. And coming to quantum, of course, quantum computing, as we heard also today, is a threat to asymmetric encryption, and we need to do post-quantum crypto, and there will be certainly need to also to implement, and certainly a threat, but not the only one. We have a lot of other threats.
So talk a little bit about the importance of this open ecosystem, because you've brought this up a couple of times to me about why is it so important that companies, governments, everyone has to really go after this in a concerted effort, and why is it so critical?
This is actually the way we have to go, because we have to avoid what we experience now, a lot of fragmentation and this silo thinking. And in this complex world, as we are now, the dependencies and of course the increasing number of connected systems, we cannot afford anymore to go as we did today or unless now. So the question is how academia, research, industry, startups, and also society needs to work together to build a whole resilient ecosystem, multi-stakeholder ecosystem.
Yeah.
And the question is how to build this.
And what have you experienced in that? Do you see organizations coming together in the last few years?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying I'm sitting on the Cyber Threat Alliance board. The Cyber Threat Alliance is an organization that brings together the leaders in the cyberspace. It's all our competitors are there as well in the same board. We share data, we pre-share information about attacks, we unite towards what we think are common threats. So first, there are activities like this. I think that if you try to look at the question from the bigger point of view, what happens, and I started at this at the beginning, the cyberspace, the cyber defense space moves by the following elements. So first, where does the technology move? Let's say we all move to the cloud, let's say we use AI, let's say quantum challenges. The second part is what vectors get closed. If we really overcome multi-factor authentication, then this door is now closed, and then the attackers would look for another door. And the third element is what's successful for the attackers. So something that was successful 5 years ago maybe is not worth the economy today to do, but once few doors gets closed and some technology get added, it's much more economical now to the attacker to use these methods. So one of the things you need to do in collaboration is to identify the early signs of some attack technologies or methods that will then evolve to be the attacks of the next generation. Right. So it's kind of an early sign. It's sharing real-time data, but it's also sharing insights on early signs. And I have few such insights, for example, from the war between Ukraine and Russia that may turn to be kind of future methods that are being used more, but may not to if there are more economical ways to attack.
So why haven't we heard more about cyber attacks in the war in Ukraine?
Well, this is a big topic.
Are we preventing them?
I think that first, it's not as simple. They didn't want to kill Ukraine. They wanted to conquer Ukraine and to have the population. So maybe one theory is that they want to keep some infrastructure because the country has to operate. Another theory has to do with the fact that they leave some weapons to the second stage. And I would say, if we talk about collaboration, Ukraine is a great example of collaboration. Many countries and companies in the world actually helped Ukraine, both war-wise, like physical pictures, intelligence, and cyber intelligence and tool-wise. So actually, Ukraine was much stronger cyber-wise than its original power.
Is that right?
By getting some assistance, yes.
So it's a combination of them being more prepared than other countries around cyber, and the attacker actually taking out other strategies before they actually get to cyber and that. But maybe that's it. What are your thoughts when people say quantum safe? What does that mean to you? That's a big buzzword out there right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. Of course, what we experience also here is that we talk about general purpose quantum computers something like 5-7 years, crystal ball. But if they were there, then certainly all this encryption asymmetric, we're talking only about asymmetric encryption, will be obsolete, and the encrypted data can be then decrypted. And currently what's experienced is that a lot of data is stored, and locked away, waiting 5 years when the quantum computers are there to unlock and then to see and to decrypt. So it's much important that we now go to this post-quantum crypto and also implement it as standardized by NIST.
And Dor, how do you think about that? Because there's different classes of data. Like, how would you help someone walk through that?
So first, I think that quantum is a perfect storm for algorithms. So algorithms that may have been hard before would be simple. So that may affect, for example, Bitcoin mining. Yep. So that may have many other effects in cyber. But if I focus quantum and cyber, as I said before, attackers will attack the least resistance. So if they could actually steal your data from the cloud because all your cloud is open and you open the API, they would do it first. They would not sit down, store your data for years, then kind of activate quantum computers. But if you have assets that are long-standing and are very valuable, and they are encrypted today in a way that would be opened in the future, it's a concern, and you should try to transform them into quantum safe. On the other hand, if we just look at traffic passing through the internet, even if it's encrypted, nobody will record all the internet traffic for the next 10 years,
right,
because there are so much easier and low-cost ways to attack you, so that they would use the open door, they would use the least resistant point. And so I think first you have to take care about replacing the quantum in the data at rest that is the most lucrative in places that will remain forever. And
or another way to say that is to look at the data and the algorithms across your business, categorize them, rank them to say this is the most valuable to you, try to get that quantum safe, it's appropriate, but sort of hard code the rest of the processes you have instead of going ubiquitously across.
And I also want to say that at the end, as a company, we exist 30 years. We replaced many times encryption algorithms, key exchanges, and other elements. It's not a rocket science to do. A data at rest, you may have other problems. You may need to decrypt all your data and re-encrypt it. It's a bit more complicated. But just replacing the algorithms, you know, it's not a big deal.
But the only difference now is the volume is bigger. Wouldn't you say the amount of data that's out there, how we operate, how dependent we are as human beings on technology, it's a bigger threat, I would suggest. I don't know if your research bears that out, but it's a bigger threat to the human race on cybersecurity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gabi?
I think also that the session or the topic or the theme of DLD is beyond now. So next year, maybe we will sit in here again, but there will be more damage, more threats, more complexity, more threats that we have to handle. And also AI-based, quantum and so on, this technology. The question is, what do we do?
Yeah.
What is the next step? Just not saying 9 of 10 have been hacked, we have these problems, this social engineering and so on. And the point is certainly from the perspective to say how to build this, well, from my side, really this multi-stakeholder resilient ecosystem, sharing in a trustworthy way, because it's not easy to share data, information, and intel, and of course, build the resilient society.
So this is a big, hairy problem, right? Mm-hmm. Where do you start? How do you start as a business? I think we've maybe addressed that a bit, but how do you start as an individual? Like, how do I think about my own personal security now?
This is more complicated, mainly, by the way, because most of the things that are relevant to an organization are also relevant to you, but most people are not willing to pay for this. So at the end, the economy is not, well, an organization could pay much more and employ experts, etc., and there is nobody kind of protecting you. So there is an assumption, an implicit assumption, that you're worth less than a large company. But if you are, let's say, very rich and you're worth more, then you should think about it more seriously. So there is the feeling of unsafety, of personal unsafety. Well, all my data was stolen because I'm an Australian and my data was in Optus, which is not clear what the damage is, but there is, if you hold like lots of money in your wallet and the whole exchange was stolen, then you are in a bigger problem.
That's right.
So I think like the common thing between personal things and organizational is that you have to map what's important, because it costs something to secure it. It doesn't come for free. There isn't like this spray of security kind of powder that you put on stuff and you are secure. So you have to decide what's worth kind of protecting and by how much.
And it's also potentially time on your part, right?
Yeah.
The more secure you are, the more time it takes you to actually access that data.
Yeah.
So it's not only cost, but it's also the human capital to actually access it.
The human is an entry point also for the organization or for stealing information from other side people. But if you look at yourself, yes, you have to understand how much you are willing to pay money, time, attention to protect yourself. And also the whole hygiene of the world, countries, services that you use online have to be much better.
Gabi?
Yeah, and we have also a big issue here. We are currently a lot of static attack surface. And all over tools that we have, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, are quite old-fashioned in the terms that they are used, so static, or what we know. And in the security, we all know that what I know is not a danger. That what I do not know is actually crucial. And so we need to make more dynamic attack surface. We need to develop more anomaly detection, more using of machine learning to make the system more flexible, dynamic, and also make it harder for the attacker to come into the system.
Well, we're in a last question. We're in a room of lots of influencers, right? In business, in their society. What do you want? What message do you have for them today?
I think we have to think about how to stop attacks, how to build security architecture around the things we have in a way that will really defend them, and not to just assume that we will get all this data and we will know what to do about it. It has to be an active prevention system that actually reduces the surface.
So in your decision-making process, bring cybersecurity thinking into that decision-making process. Gabi.
Yeah, last word, awareness, and of course, seeing the importance of cybersecurity and raising also the skill issue and a lot of issues. Our time is up, but we have a lot to do there as well.
Yeah, guys, this is such a rapid evolving field. And I will tell you that for every good guy we have, there are bad guys, and maybe more bad guys than good guys. It is a really, really important topic, and it will crush our economy and it'll crush our society if we don't deal with it. So I just want to say thank you to Gabi and Dorit for really addressing the issue. We only ask you to keep it at the forefront of your mind as you guys go forward and start doing your business and, start changing the world. Thank you very much.
Let's change the world. Thank you.